no blackboard. He sits on the floor. Although he's 12 years old, he cannot read or write. Indeed, his teacher can barely read an affidavit which he is supposed to have deposed to. On top of this, Odafe Jr. is always hungry at school and can barely focus on his classes. His younger sister, Beauty, is not that lucky, as she has to hawk groundnuts to support the family's income. She's out of school just like the more than 8.2 million Nigerian children of primary school age. Then there is Zainab, who lives in Ghana, and she cannot read a sentence in any language, just as 2/3 of girls in northern Nigeria between the ages of 15 and 19. 70.8% of young women aged 20 to 29 in the Northwest are unable to read or write. Non-net enrollment for girls in primary school is 34%, and secondary school is 10%. But even more tragic is the fact that Odafe Jr., Beauty, Zainab, and many other Nigerian children would go to bed hungry almost every night. So we have a situation where the vast majority of the population of our country is poor, deprived, and suffering. Several, especially children, going to bed hungry at night. Others dying because of extremely poor medical facilities. Without a doubt, this is a national disaster. Besides the medium and long-term measures to address economic growth and infrastructure deficit, some immediate interventions to address poverty are necessary. First, a general framework. One, government must accept that the poor man, the citizen or Dafis of Nigeria, must be the sole focus of economic and social policy. Economic models that do not focus on actual human beings and their problems are unhelpful. Any serious government must rise to the challenge of getting people out of poverty at once. China lifted more than 600 million people out of poverty between 1981 and 2004. In that same time frame, Nigeria dragged almost 100 million people into poverty. In China, the poverty rate dropped from 85% in 1981 to 16% in 2005. Poverty being defined as the number of people living on less than $1.25 a day. In Nigeria, poverty increased from 28% in 1980 to 71.5% in 2012. India has introduced initiatives that are set to reduce poverty from 51% as of 1990 to 22% in 2015. The second point to note in this general framework is that the Nigerian political elite must be prepared to make some serious sacrifices to get the majority of Nigerians out of poverty. The current expenditure pattern which we have is simply suicidal. The federal government is illustrative of this problem. Over 70% of Nigeria's budget goes to recurrent expenditure, paying for salaries and consumption of probably about 500,000 public servants. The example of the National Assembly is apt. The National Assembly spent $232 billion in 2011 and $150 billion in 2012, while Nigeria's capital expenditure was $1.12 trillion and $1.32 trillion for 2011 and 2012 respectively. So in 2012, 469 legislators spent 11.4% of what it might have cost Nigeria to build roads, bridges, hospitals, schools, and railways. What can be done to change these appalling numbers? The focus of government must be on the people, not on abstract theories or policies. How does a man on the street manage? How can Otafe, Zainab, Kola, or Chioma feel the impact of government on their poverty-ridden lives? The political class must be willing to make serious sacrifices. The amount taken from the public purse to run our democratic contraption is just too enormous. What happens when we spend that kind of money on just maintaining our political structure is that we impoverish the people that elected officials in the first place. The serious government must directly intervene to avert the total collapse of our national life on account of poverty. The social consequences of poverty are already evident. It is the business of responsible government today to reorder its spending priorities to provide for its most vulnerable people. The federal government in particular must engage in creative social programs that get huge numbers out of poverty. This must be in the form of income redistribution that directly transfers cash or kind to alleviate immediate poverty. One of the most effective ways of government directly intervening to reduce poverty is food intervention. I'll take an example of Osun State. Osun State has a feeding program for primary school pupils. So every day, the state government provides lunch to 254,000 people. It costs the state 12.95 million naira per day and about 2.3 billion every school year. So averagely, it spends about 52 naira per student or per pupil. Now check out the multiplier effect of that. Because the state government feeds that number of children, there is a total number of over 3,000 food vendors and caterers and cooks who are currently employed to serve these midday meals to the pupils of Osun State, of primary schools in Osun State. All the food items being utilized for feeding the pupils are sourced locally from farmers and others on the supply chain. Imagine the effect of these on these people and their families. Of course, all parents have a reduced burden of feeding their children. What is more, the program itself has shown that malnutrition can be reversed if government chooses to intervene in feeding children in primary schools. Besides, academic performance is enhanced and school enrollment itself is enhanced. Since the program started, Osun State now has the highest pupil enrollment in Nigeria. The Osun example is one that has been successful in other countries as well. India, for instance, has a national program, and at the moment it feeds about 120 million of its pupils in primary schools. Ghana also has quite a successful program, feeding several thousands of its pupils in primary school. Now, what could happen here? And let's just look at the potential for maximum impact. If the federal government, for instance, were to match this effort, naira for naira, and apply it nationally, we could simply have a situation where, I'd say, a sum of 82.8 billion they could actually feed more than 9 million school children.